Hi everyone and welcome to this new video for my blog. Now it's been a while since I've made any videos, but recently I have received a lot of messages talking about one particular question, which is language exchanges. A language exchange is an agreement between two people that they will meet together for a set amount of time and share each other's languages. If you are a native English speaker and you'd like to learn Russian, and you know a native Russian speaker who'd like to learn English, maybe you set aside an hour when you'd meet together and do half an hour in English and half an hour in Russian. There are a lot of advantages to doing language exchanges, which is one reason why they're so popular. They are free, they are fun, and they're a really good way to get to know somebody who's a native speaker of the language that you're learning. I had a really great time doing a language exchange when I was living in Russia. I had a friend who, exactly like I said, wanted to learn English, so we would meet up every week, talk in English, talk in Russian, correct each other, tell each other different ways of saying things, and just really improve our language. It was fun because it didn't really feel like we were learning. Russian is now one of my strongest languages, and I really think that without that chance to practice and use it, it wouldn't be anywhere near where it is today. Because I had such a great time doing my exchange in Russian, I've tried doing it for other languages as well. Somehow it wasn't quite the same. Although there are a lot of advantages to doing language exchanges, there's also quite a lot that can go wrong. Though I've tried a few different exchanges since then, none of them have actually had the same kind of energy that I had with that first one in Russia. A lot of things have ended up going wrong, and all of them I've had to end up calling off prematurely. It turns out this is actually not that uncommon a thing. Although language exchanges sound really good as an idea, often in practice they don't work out. There are a number of different things that can go wrong with a language exchange, but basically I think these come down to three fundamental problems. A lack of motivation, an imbalance between your language and your partner's language and your skills in it, and a lack of skill to make what you're doing in the exchange worthwhile. Language exchanges are often free. As a result, that means that they're not always prioritized. When difficult things come up in your life and you need to cancel things, this is often the first thing to go. One main issue is that in a language exchange there is no clearly defined amount of time that it's going to last for. If you get the feeling that this language exchange could go on forever, then you're going to lose interest. What makes us use our time efficiently is scarcity. The fact that our time is valuable and the fact that we have to use it like we don't have very much of it. One thing you can do to make your language exchanges more interesting and make them last longer is actually to set a short amount of time that they're going to run for. Decide that you're going to meet for 4 sessions, 5 sessions, or even 10 sessions, but just basically anything to make your time finite. That makes the prospect of doing a language exchange much easier for your brain to handle. It feels like less of a burden and less of a long-term commitment, but instead a short-term way to boost your skills in your language. When there's a big imbalance between your ability to speak a language and your partner's, this is also where problems can happen. If you're at an advanced stage, but you're doing a language exchange with someone who is kind of still a beginner, then two things can happen. You either spend a lot of time working on the beginner, or you just completely ignore that person's language and focus on your own, because it's much easier to talk in it. Neither of these things is a good outcome. It can create a huge imbalance in your language exchange that will make it feel like one person is getting more than they are giving. That is no longer an exchange, it's more like free lessons. To make sure that your language exchange is going to last, try to find a partner who is at a similar level to where you are. If you can't find someone who lives nearby you, then have a look on the internet through sites like italki or Facebook groups to find someone who is. One of the biggest problems that you can have when having a language exchange is the lack of technique to make everything count. When you have a lesson with a language teacher, what that teacher is doing is following a carefully designed course. They will give you homework tasks that make sure that you are practicing the vocabulary that you're getting in the lesson, so that basically you are still working and refreshing everything in the time between your meetings. When you have an informal exchange with someone, it's often not so clear that this will happen. Things are often improvised as you go along, and not so much thought is put into planning and addressing individual needs. This puts a lot of pressure on you to come up with your own tasks of what you're going to do in the meantime. You need to think about exercises that will practice vocabulary and practice the grammar that you've learned in your lesson. Something like this can be a short writing exercise based on the topic that you've discussed, or maybe even recording yourself for 3 or 4 minutes talking about a particular issue. This will really alert you to where your gaps in vocabulary are and how comfortable you feel expressing yourselves on certain topics. You can then go to your language exchange partner with a list of set questions that you would like answered and give the whole experience a lot more focus and a lot more structure. Ultimately though, I'm still unconvinced as to whether language exchanges are always that useful. They're a lot of fun and really great if you get on with the person, but I don't always feel that my language is benefiting from them. As a result, I do choose to pay someone for their time to really focus on my language, focus on error correction, and help me to reach the next level. Don't forget that you can read about this in more detail on my site, rawlings.com. And if you have any other questions about language learning, don't hesitate to contact me. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.